Okay, so it is my pleasure today to share with you the top line findings of a piece of research that we have commissioned this year, a review of the impact of new technologies on the information professions. It was published earlier on in the year. So the CILIP Technology Review Research Report, as I say, commissioned by CILIP and supported by NHS Health Education England.
Oh, you've just fallen onto mute there, Sue.
So I've introduced the report. You know, it was published earlier in the year. So in the short presentation, I want to take a minute or two to talk to reflect on the implications of that report within the health setting and share some of the early responses from Health Education England to it. But first, I want to talk about the report and why it's important. So we know, we're clear in the health sector that AI, machine learning and robotics are reshaping the ways that teams create, discover, use and share information. And this report's a really timely call for action within our profession. Here you can see the cover of the report, and as he produced this, Dr. Andrew Cox from the Information School at Sheffield, as Jill has so rightly said, Sheffield University. It's a groundbreaking report, groundbreaking piece of work. His brief was to explore the impact of the fourth industrial revolution and the associated technologies on the information professionals, looking at three areas in particular. So the skills of the workforce of today. How are we going to ensure that today's workforce has the skills and understanding that we need in order to be able to support our users to participate safely and effectively, successfully in our modern world, which is increasingly powered by AI, machine learning, digital process automation and robotics. Secondly, what are the ethical implications of our approach to these technologies to ensure that they are truly applied in ways that are inclusive? And how can we deploy that existing ethical framework for librarians, a real strength of the information professions, and ensure that our ethical framework aligns to the emerging work on data ethics and responsible use of technology? And then thirdly, thinking ahead, but in the present, around what are the skills needed by the workforce of tomorrow that we are growing and cooking today. So what's the curriculum that we're going to develop to ensure that the next generation of information professionals has the right skills to keep pace with future developments in technology? So to undertake this work, Dr. Cox undertook a literature review. He interviewed experts from all across the UK. And what we have here is a truly thought-provoking report. And the link is on there as this PowerPoint is shared. And the first real observation is the need to grasp the complexity. So these technologies are already changing the ways in which we all interact with information. And that's as one aspect of wider social and technological change. The fact is that AI and robots are our past, our present, and our future. And of course, adoption is patchy, geographically and by sector. The rhetoric does not always match the reality. And AI and robotics, machine learning are going to change jobs, they're going to create jobs, and they will eradicate some jobs. But the future is not predetermined. We're in a position where we can choose to shape the direction. So to ground this a little, where do we see the applications of AI and RPA now? Well, there are changes happening right across the whole of the information chain in production, organisation and consumption. And if I sort of summarise this here, we're seeing applications to knowledge itself, the intelligent web, mobile search, AI interfaces, knowledge discovery systems in our own work. We're talking a lot about AI and its applications with knowledge discovery. Users, how we interact with users, new ways to do that, new outputs and outcomes from doing that, and the fundamental importance of us sharing literacies around this. How are we going to help people evaluate and interact safely and productively with these? What knowledge and understanding are we going to share? What's our part? And then services, of course, whether that's robotics for navigation, and crucially for librarians, because we're a very specialist breed and there aren't very many of us. So how are we going to apply RPA to free up staff time to really work on value-added processes? If I just give you one line of examples from the health sector of how we're seeing these applications. So in terms of knowledge, Health Education England supported a trial of Discover at the University Hospitals of Derby and Burton. And that's looking at applying AI to searching. In terms of users, the CILIP report, Dr. Cox's report, talks about Library Anne, who is a chatbot which responds to questions in the Roche Pharmaceutical Library. And then at Aberystwyth Library, we've already trialled Hugh, the robot librarian, who can take you to the book you're looking for. So first of all, some key findings here. Well, the really good news is while the report talks about challenges and opportunities and competencies, really crucially for today and tomorrow, there is a strong alignment between the existing skill set of information professionals and the demands of new technologies. If you look at this image here, through from vision and leadership and really working well together, supporting users, data, curation, stewardship, procurement, the skills of a technical architecture, all of these sit comfortably within the skill set of information professionals. And that brings you into that central theme here around the existing ethical basis of the information professions being well suited to addressing the ethical implications of these technologies going forward. Plus, of course, there are some areas in which the information professions need to be supported to develop new skills. But, we've already got a massive range of skills on which to build. So if I move on to the recommendations, the report summarises these by segments these. So let's start by looking at the ones for organisations. And leaders of organisations need to be creating structures and critically cultures which empower staff to have a go, roll our sleeves up, experiment, get it wrong and share the learning. So we want people to be actively engaging with AI to explore the potential benefit, start taking steps towards that, and wherever possible, actively share that knowledge across the wider profession. And some of that repositioning is going to involve real experimentation to get our skills right applied to these new tech. So thinking then of our educators and training providers, well, the report was really clear about the range of skills that are needed. And what came across loud and clear is we can't wait for the 6-year-olds learning programming in school now. We've got to start with ourselves. And the more immediate issue is in fact CPD for current professionals who will be operating over the next decades as AI in its many forms becomes common practice. So there are 3 areas we need to get our heads around. And the first is computational sense. And that's that ability to grasp easily the challenges, understand where we're going with implementing a computer-based solution. And it captures our skills in adapting and adopting new technologies as a bridge between the needs of users and the potential of the developing technologies. So this is about becoming fluent in tailoring and combining applications and a real understanding of the potential of design options. The second thread there is data science, data stewardship, really building on an emphasis we already have around the curation and the provenance of content. So this is about the provenance of data, understanding where it's come from, understanding the limits of a data set, understanding bias and being able to share that. And there is wrapped in here those fundamental skills around categorization of content, taxonomies, commitment to standards, interoperability, and of course ethics. And then this third area, which is so important for citizens, going back to the remarks that the chair made at the opening of the session, you know, arguably all our services, wherever we're teaching information literacy in one form or another, should be thinking now about how we're going to build data literacy, AI and algorithmic literacy into that. And of course, I put a note here to remind myself that successful implementation is not about one technology, but about vision and leadership and effective strategy. I was involved in work on the TOPOL review before this, looking at preparing the healthcare workforce to embrace these technologies. And we concluded at the end, as a rough rule of thumb, it was going to be 80% about culture, leadership, OD, organizational development, and not so really much about the tech at all. So what about you and I? What are the recommendations for us, for individuals? Well, this is about the spirit of professionalism, keeping our skills up to date, being inquisitive and willing to have a go, and engaging with our colleagues and sharing, building a vision of where these things can really be of value and bring value in our various settings and the sectors in which we work. There are recommendations too for the professional body, and the recommendations are that we're really asking CILIP to help us as a profession articulate the role of information professionals in the digital age, our roles across that. It's really referencing how our existing ethical framework, which you can see illustrated here, and our principles apply in this changing environment, our new context. Hugely valuable role to help us find pathfinder organisations which can help share evidence around those benefits, and of course to foster knowledge sharing as we go through. So I wanted to share with you our Health Education England response to this in terms of education and training opportunities, because my focus as the head of profession within the NHS is indeed on equipping knowledge specialists, information professionals, knowledge managers for the digital age. So as one part of our response, we supported the refresh of CILIP's professional knowledge and skills base, key to us all. For us, this was, yes, of course, about introducing the sessions on data management and computational sense, which I've just flagged, but equally about introducing new sections on knowledge management and knowledge sharing. All those challenges around sharing knowledge, learning from experience, which the last 2 years have so very much brought to the fore as being of incredible importance. And then we've introduced 3 new things. So library carpentry, these are workshops, a program that enables participants to apply concepts from software development and data science. As I flagged before, looking at how can we automate repetitive functions so that we can make the best use of our skilled professional group. And sometimes that's about research software, optimizing that. For us, of course, a key area is how can we enhance presentation of evidence so it's easy to absorb. We're working with partners on a clinical data science program, and that's going to include bespoke modules for library and knowledge specialists. And I'm really delighted to tell you that in a couple of weeks' time, we're launching the Health Education England Knowledge for Healthcare Learning Academy. And initially that will be looking at CPD accredited by CILIP for our specialist knowledge and library staff in the health sector, across the health sector, not just in the NHS, but including opportunities to learn about technologies. My ambition is for this to go on and become available to all members of the healthcare industry, the healthcare sector, the NHS, because after all, health is a knowledge industry. So as I draw to a close, I want to reiterate this key message from the CILIP Technology Report. The future with AI and robots is not predetermined. Do we have power to influence how HI and robots are used? Sometimes technologies are presented as external forces that cause inexorable changes to our lives as if from outside. This form of technological determinism does reflect how we sometimes experience change, particularly when it is badly managed. But in truth, technologies are social creations. Ultimately, it is societies that make choices about technologies they develop and use. By extension, the information, knowledge management and library workforce has opportunities and an important role in choosing about the collective future through how it responds to the current wave of technologies. So we are amidst an evolving relationship between humans and machine, one in which we as a profession have much to offer. And again, I'll say it, the future is not predetermined, we have agency. And indeed, I believe that there is a huge opportunity for information professionals to bring our skills to a range of different roles. Firstly, in leadership positions, we can take the driving seat as organisations apply tech to deliver on business objectives. Secondly, offering authoritative support to employers in all sectors to understand and evaluate and assess how to harness these technologies while minimising the risks. And thirdly, as a trusted and authoritative leadership for our users. So there's a huge opportunity for us to position ourselves at the heart of this process as a source of trusted, authoritative support for our users. My message is key and it's there, carpe diem. Thank you for your time today. By all means, get in touch and you've got my contact details there, Nick.